That's why I was ready. That's why I have my hands ready. That's why I
Oh,
have.
nice. I like that. Que lo que, mi gente? Welcome to the Monoplaza F1 podcast. And with me, as always, the most illustrious, the best ever to do it, Elkyn Beltry. Welcome back. Welcome
We are
back to the podcast.
we are back here, as my native people would say, Q Q. We in here
I hate you for that.
like we
Why did you say
like we never left, baby. Like we never left.
All right. So, this week we are going to be covering the Belgian Grand Prix Spa. Now, for those who don't already know, starting next year, Spa is going to be on rotation with Zandvoort, so we will not see Spa until 2027. To some people, that's yay, good riddance. We should take it out of the rotation entirely. For some people, it's like, oh man, oh no. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. It was a sprint weekend. Historically, I have gone on record to say that I hate sprints. I think sprints are boring. The only sprint that I found exciting was China 2025. It's amazing. That
I
sprint was
wonder why.
that
Wonder
sprint
why.
that was the greatest sprint race I've ever seen in my life. Masterclass. I loved it. No, um, anyways, and so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. We are not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but we are going to cover it. So, Elkyn, what did you think about the sprint? I know you almost share the same feelings, but let's
I
do that for a
mean,
second.
sprint was what it was. I think I pretty much Verstappen leading every lap, even though Verstappen was like, you know, I had to have like a pull lap every single lap. I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna really do any damage.
I know, right?
I think
Every
most,
week with this guy.
and at some point, I think the drivers are just like, why are we doing this? Even Verstappen, who holds the record for most sprint wins, I think that was sprint win number 12, said,
Dang.
why are we doing this? Pretty
It
much.
it just felt like it always. This is why I don't like him. It just feels like an extended practice.
Hmm.
And so, like for me, it was like it used to be, and I don't know if you remember, it used to be that whatever your order was in the sprint,
Yep.
that was your order for Sunday, and that was literally last year. And then I used to be like, oh man, that sucks because you got to get the setup right, blah 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 blah. Then they
Hmm.
switched it up, and they were like, yeah, after the sprint, you can change it. We'll have regular qualifying, blah. And I was just kind of like, it doesn't matter. And next year they got some wonky. They took Brazil off of the sprint schedule. They got Silverstone in there, which is like, what are we doing? They got Singapore, and I guess Singapore is going to be a day race. And I don't know
Oh
if
my
anybody
gosh.
know. You and I understand what a tropical, humid heat
Man,
is. We understand it. I'm not sure F1 understands because even a night race in Singapore
it's rough.
is eh,
It's
what are
rough.
they?
And
Hey,
people got to realize the nighttime humidity is rough as it is. So then that
daytime?
daytime,
No,
mm,
sir. No gracias. Yeah, so the sprint was what it was. I guess one thing that I was gonna touch about the sprint qualifying, in particular, obviously, thoughts on Lewis Hamilton's spinneroonie. I don't know what you want to call that. He needed to get
man,
that lap. He obviously got knocked out. Team was saying, Fred Vasseur was saying, oh, Antonelli had an incident. There was a big dust cloud. I don't think that that's enough to
man.
actually affect Lewis. So thoughts on, was that more car and the new upgrades, or was that more like driver error?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the thing that's frustrating watching Ferrari is I believe both of their drivers like to do a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to think of the type of braking they like doing. Because both Charles and Lewis are known for their
Oh
braking
yeah, leg
style.
breaking. Yep.
Yeah, and I feel like the cars just never, they can never set up the car to handle it the way that those drivers want. And obviously, Charles is like that for many years, and they've had many
Mm-hmm.
chances, and they still haven't done it with Lewis. But I do think it was a combination of both. I do think it was that whole new setup, but then also Lewis, and I honestly think he just oversteered that. Like that's how I was viewing it. I was just like, it was like that combination, and
Sure.
and for me, it was just like that sprint shootout too. I'm just like, this is pretty much. I know it's not. I mean, it pretty much felt like a FP. It's FP1. Like that's what I call it. Sprint shootout is FP1.
So you got to remember that, like coming into this race,
Hmm.
they brought a new upgrade package. So they brought a new
Mm-hmm.
rear suspension, right? Um, I guess what ended up happening was a driver, and I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, the wheel
Mm-hmm.
or the steering wheel for F1 car obviously is very complicated. They can control like
Yeah.
their brake bias. Shouts out
Mm-hmm.
F1 the game for introducing me to brake bias. I know you and I both play that, but essentially to dumb it down in the craziest way possible. When a car locks up, which is what happens, you expect for it to lock up in the front. Because if it
Mm-hmm.
locks up in the front, your two front tires, front left, front right, you have enough time to kind of like calculate, and now you're on your merry way. Somebody like Lewis Hamilton's caliber, that's not a problem. What you don't expect is for your rear tires to lock up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lewis most likely was probably adjusting that. I want to kind of tweak it a little bit, blah, 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 blah. And just the new brakes, he was not used to it, and those locked up. And I was gonna say it was like afterwards, Anthony Davidson, who was one of the Sky F1 commentators, was just kind of like, no, yeah, that's all car. So we'll see, because he didn't have any issues during the sprint. He didn't have any issues during the actual race itself.
Yeah.
Granted, during the race he qualified P18.
Mm-hmm. But that's a
Yes, sir.
whole nother
Um,
thing.
all right. So yeah, the sprint was what it was. Congratulations to Max Verstappen for winning the practice race. I guess I don't know. The practice they
It
give points.
is. It
It's
is. You get
something.
eight. What do you get? 8 points for winning for P1.
Yes,
Ah.
eight, eight measly points. Congrats on doing nothing. I said what I said. All right. So the one last thing. Sorry, I keep wanting to move on, but it was kind of crazy to me, the qualifying gap, because I believe,
Man.
yeah, I want to make sure I get this correct. Lando, let's see, sprint qualifying. That's right. Looking up, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Oscar, because he set a new. I don't know why I said Lando. Oscar set a new course record.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was
If it,
basically almost 400 of a second above Max, and about 500ths of a, like, almost half a second on Lando, who came in third. So it
mm-hmm.
was nuts. And he broke that lap record or course record set by Lewis Hamilton in the W11, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
crazy car. So like, McLaren's a rocket ship. You knew that. I knew that. Whatever. So shouts out Oscar yet again. All right, the race. So the thing that I'm gonna ask you is, do you feel like the rain delay should have been as long as it was?
I don't think it should have. Like, it's interesting hearing both perspectives. Like, hearing like a Max and Lewis saying like we should have been out there. That's what the fans
Sure,
want to see. I think it would have made it
sure.
more for. And then you have George, who's pretty much like the drivers' union, like head. It's like nope, driver safety, pretty much like him coming out and saying that. But it just felt like an hour and 20 minutes was just. It just felt a little bit too
Yeah, it was.
long,
Yeah, it
and
was a
I
lot.
think they made it worse on themselves. And then not just that, for them then to parade for having them parade behind the safety car
Oh, the rolling start.
for was it until the fifth lap they did that?
No, they did. Yeah, so they did like two laps behind the safety car, I
Hmm.
think, and then Lando, which, like, Lando wanted that rolling start. It
Hmm.
didn't matter, honestly. And,
Yeah.
and like, here's the thing: like, historically, like, usually the person who gets the pole lap at Spa doesn't end up winning the race. So like,
Hmm.
he knew he was toast anyways. But do you feel like the rain delay, because we've had two major rain races this year, right?
Hmm.
Australia to kick off the season, which was kind of nuts. Basically, all
Hmm.
the rookies except for Oliver Behrman and Kimi Antonelli crashed out, right?
Yep.
You had some, the Alonsos and the Signs, who also like did not make that race. And then the following rain race that you had was like Silverstone, which Silverstone, like, you expect it to rain, so like whatever, right? So do you feel like it was just like an over calibration based on like, because obviously, like, yeah, sure, Lewis and Max wanted to start, but their cars were set up for the rain. So
Yeah. So they wanted it. I think it was a little correction because maybe like in Silverstone the FIA was like we didn't do enough, and then at Spa they were like we got to do more, and then they did that, and it's just I don't know what I don't know if they know what they should do exactly. But
I
like,
mean,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, I think that's the thing. I mean, looking at it, And I understand like you want to protect the drivers and everything. You want to make sure nothing crazy. I think the obvious thing like every F1 fan sees the spray. Like if you're not in first and you're trying to catch up, you're gonna have that spray in your face and it's gonna suck. Trying to get from behind that, whatever. But I think though the problem is with Spa because those laps are so long when it's dry. Because I think last year was dry, right? Because I know last year was the infamous George Russell
Yes,
underweight,
last year. Yep, last year was dry. Correct.
and I remember that. But it felt like last year, even with it being that's the crazy thing, even with it being dry, it felt like it was a better race to watch. Actually, you and I watched that race together, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
because it was before the DQ. It was Russell, Hamilton, and then Oscar, and Oscar was right on Hamilton's tail. I remember that Oscar was just
Yeah,
gaining.
yeah. That's kind of when you kind of got a sense of, man, that McLaren had it not
Yeah.
been for a terrible pit stop, that
Oh yeah.
McLaren. And then George calling his own shot as always. I could expect nothing less. No, what I will say is that like you you obviously take into account that Spa and any race that they are racing is dangerous. It's an extreme sport,
Hmm.
right? But the last two deaths in Formula One have been at Spa. So in
Yeah, that is true.
2023 and in 2019, obviously with Hubert and Dylan. I'm gonna butcher his name. Delano Van Hoff died in
Hmm.
2023 there as well, right? So sure, you want to take it into account. I too kind of like you. I felt like it was kind of ridiculous that they had waited that long. Like I was okay with it, like when it was like heavy rain, right? Because you saw that formation lap and the
Yeah,
spray. Like yeah, it's a little bit crazy. That being said, once the race started, how about Oscar on
man.
Lando? He just
Oscar
hey,
was on a
he said
mission.
by faith. He was like,
Oscar, like when Oscar does his overtakes, like for me, Oscar might be the overtake MVP of the season. Like
yes,
his overtakes, you watch him. Even last year, some of his overtakes were just like, man. Like when he goes for it, the thing is like his overtakes for me, like some of his overtakes are so ridiculous. You're like, how to get that angle? But also at the same time, they don't feel as super dangerous as they should when he does some of those overtakes.
yeah. I think I understand what you're saying, right?
Like
Like the
it's just not many
he
drivers will
has
take it. That's what I'm looking at.
it's the lines, right? Because he had
Yeah.
two overtakes in the wet that we've seen this year. Like
Mhm.
obviously in Australia on Lewis, which was nuts, like game recognized game, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at this one with Lando. I don't think he could see like where Lando and like I think at some point he just like either by memory or just like feel was like, and now I'm gonna
No.
overtake and
Yeah.
I'm gone. Like and Lando never like
And the thing is, like once he got that lead, he could almost feel like Lando was like, I'm gonna try to put pressure on him, try to put pressure on him. And I think for the closest Lando got was it 3 seconds, really,
uh
towards the end. 4.
for and then he had that lockup. I forget which turn it was. He had that lockup, and then that was it. He had crucially he had two mistakes because
Mhm.
he was like in his own words, he was like putting in qualifying lap after qualifying lap, which you have to do, right? And he was
Yeah.
catching up. Then he got as close at like 4 seconds, I think. Then he messed up and he lost a second and like 1.2 seconds, something like that, right? So then
Mhm.
he's back. Then he was gaining on Oscar again, and he made another mistake, which that was it
Mm.
after that, right? He didn't have enough laps. And I think what's crazy is that he had the tire offset, right?
Yeah.
So he could have been like more aggressive. Oscar was nursing those mediums to the end, and his own team was telling, which shouts out to his team, honestly, right? Because they were like, hey,
Yeah.
Oscar, we think the best strategy is for you to take care of these medium tires. Like you're
And
not going to have enough time to pit, change your tires, and then like come back and overtake. And he was like,
yeah,
all right,
I think everyone. I mean, how many cars did a one-stop strategy? I feel like
Uh,
there was a decent amount.
yeah, because you like the deg here is not as bad,
Yeah.
which is it's telling too, right? Because like Pirelli, first of all, I don't know how Pirelli keeps getting contracts for Formula One, right? Because these tires are like they're everlasting, and this year to kind of guard against what happened last
Mhm.
year, they skipped a compound, right? So it was like
Mm.
between the medium and the hard, they skipped a compound, so it was kind of
Yeah.
like okay,
All
and so
right.
everybody was like nursing it. But again, that's not to take away from what Oscar was doing. Obviously, like the one stop strategy was interesting. I guess what do you think about like how the team deals with? Piastri and how they coach Piastri versus how they coach Lando, right? Because with Oscar, it feels like, hey, this is the strategy is what we're trying to do, and I want to clarify that, like, I don't think Oscar is emotionless, right? I just think he's cool, calm, and collected. But it
That's
feels like
honestly
there's no. Go ahead.
no. You're right. Like that's how it feels like, and I feel like a lot of times in the movie we're starting to get evidence of it. It feels like Lando. I don't want to say he's more emotional, but I think Lando is more prone to make some of those mistakes
Yeah.
that you don't want to see. Whereas Oscar, like you said, like give him the strategy, like, hey, this is what we need to do. You got these meetings for the rest of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you gotta do. And Oscar did just enough what he needed to do. And who knows what happens if Lando doesn't have those two mistakes. But in my the way I view it is I'm like, don't be surprised if Oscar still would have pulled it out. Like maybe
Yeah.
Lando only gets like obviously in the end like it looked closer than it I think
Sure.
it felt like that, but like it just seems like Oscar is someone who, when he gets a lead, he's not going to likely make a
Mm-mm.
mistake. And the way the team treats him is almost like a trust. Like, hey, this is a strategy, and we think we can trust you to
I,
take and use the strategy the way that we intended it to be used.
I think, first of all, I think tremendous job by
Hmm.
Zach Brown. This is a, me, I'm a Zach Brown apologist.
Yeah.
Not 100% because some of the stuff, some of the people he'd be inviting to the pits.
Eh,
Ugh.
eh.
But he's in DR
Hmm.
frequently. He's friends with Pujols and all those players. He went
Hmm.
to the Winter Ball this past season. Went to Escogido, which ended up winning. By the way, Lidom. If you don't watch
Oh
Winter
boy.
baseball and you're a baseball fan, what are you doing? If you're not watching the high school baseball Japanese finals,
Hey,
what are you doing? Hey,
that's
those are
pure
intense.
cinema right there.
But shouts out to Zach Brown because I think he understands his two drivers. The one
Hmm.
driver, right? It's clear that Lando early on, he was kind of like the first driver that he brought in, and Lando has paid dividends, like kind of like
Hmm.
this great talent. He jumped through hoops, paid all the fines to liberate Oscar from Alpine. Which shouts out to Oscar and Mark Webber for getting him out. Imagine if
Thank
Oscar
goodness.
Piastri was still in. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly right. But I think Zach is kind of managing the situations because he's sitting there thinking like, okay, with Lando, I got to do this. With Oscar, I got to do this. But it's kind of like sometimes I feel for Oscar. I feel for Oscar because hear me out.
Hmm.
It's like when Oscar wins, like Zach gives him his like bear hug and he's like, yeah, man, congratulations. Give him that
Hmm.
Midwest pat on the back.
Yeah.
But then with Lando, it's like, yeah, get in here, dog, get in here.
Feels like out sometimes too. Like till this day, I still can't forgive the team for how they treated Oscar during his first career win. Like I'm still like I have a bitter taste in my mouth since that day, man.
Hey,
Cause
that's
wasn't it
that's
wasn't it
actually it's the anniversary, yeah, coming
wasn't it
up.
Hungary? Wasn't it
Yes,
Hungary last
sir.
year? Yeah, and the whole thing like it's just it's something about that rubbed me the wrong way. Where it's like you see like Oscar's just like I know you guys brought me here to be a number two driver, but I'm gonna still try to win. And I'm interested to see how chummy things stay. Especially like I know when we got the new regulations coming next year, who knows
Mm-hmm.
how things are gonna play out.
Mm-hmm.
But because we've seen well, you know what? We haven't seen I don't want to say we've seen this before. I almost gave you the Mercedes analogy, but Mercedes, even though those two guys were competing for a championship, they
Yeah.
were actually good friends, like off and childhood friends. Like these two guys, Oscar and Lando, feel more like we're here to work. We're
Yeah.
on this.
Hey, we're just coworkers, dog.
No, literally.
Clock in, clock out. No. So what I would say with Oscar, again, just the way that he is managed, I do feel like something that I heard on. So I listened to Quick Stop F1. Right. Shouts
Hmm.
out. They finally came back with an episode after a hiatus. Super excited about that. But they made a valid point. Most likely his manager, obviously, Mark Webber, who himself got
Oh yeah, him
his
and
career. I'm not gonna say his career got cut short, but they brought in Sebastian Vettel, and that was all she wrote.
yeah.
Right? They brought in a faster driver, and that was all she wrote. Right? So I'm pretty sure they said on this podcast, right? And I totally agree. Weber probably pulled Oscar aside and was like, "Hey, you're not gonna get a ton of opportunities, so you need to maximize it right now because you're right. Like we have no idea how next year is going to be,
And that's the thing,
right?
like you don't know, and like, cause I like me after watching what happened with Lewis in 21, I'm just
Mm.
like, ah, this sucks. Lewis, bounce back next year. Get your eighth next year. Nope. Like it is not guaranteed. Like
No,
you might, and like we could see McLaren be like the fourth best team next year. Who knows? Like we don't know how things are going to play out. And like you're right. How many chances do you get to win a driver's championship. You're not
And
going to get many
I feel
chances.
I feel like I joined the chorus of voices that say the ground effects era was probably like the worst, because the first year the ground effects era, obviously, I know it was meant to be an era where the cars were closer to each other and it was
Hmm.
going to be more overtakes and competitive. Instead, what we got
Hmm.
was uh, bouncing or porpoising, right? Which, by the way, like no one who speaks Spanish knew how to say like what the equivalent of porpoising was, so they just said porpoising.
Ah.
hey, hey, I'm not even gonna knock him because too, I'd be
Hmm.
like, ¿cómo se dice porpoising, dog? I don't know. And so like you had that. Then you had the cars. Not only could they not really overtake in the way that they could, then you had to deal with dirty air generated by the downforce from these cars. So it was like it was a wash. This whole thing is a wash. The teams that maximize the most, obviously, out of the 4 years, Red Bull won 2 years with the constructors, right? 23 was it not even close, right?
Absolutely not.
24, obviously, last year McLaren won the constructors, but came in second with the drivers' championship, and that was cool, whatever, right? This year, first of all, they need to stop saying or treating the constructors like it's a competition.
It's
McLaren,
over.
even if Ferrari were to double the amount of points that they have, they would still be behind McLaren. All
It's
right,
yeah.
it's done. Now all we're getting is Oscar and Lando. And so do you feel like with Oscar, I I don't know if you agree or not. I feel like Oscar has this like championship in hand. Obviously, I think he's made some mental mishaps, mistakes that probably he's not going to make again. Like you look at Silverstone and like the aggressiveness of that is really what cost him that race. In Belgium, he took the opportunity, grabbed it by the horns.
Hmm.
He is somebody obviously who now in his what is it like
Is it third year, right?
his third year at McLaren, he has the same amount of wins as Lando. Which, by the way, more to my argument about yes, the driver is super important, but so is the car because how many years was Lando in McLaren and
Hmm.
he sniffed victories a couple times, some mental
Yeah,
errors,
because
right?
wasn't Lando's first victory in Miami last year?
Yes, case in point. So we'll see what happens next year. But I guess my question back to you is like, do you feel like Oscar really just has kind of like a stranglehold on this championship and it's his to lose, or do you feel like we're gonna get a nice back and because we got 11 races left, right?
It just feels like it's too long, man, and I feel like we gotta. I feel like in the back of my mind, I feel like Oscar's gonna have like a DNF or something like that happen.
Oof.
Like I'm just worried. Like obviously we remember like Lando. Which race was it? What Lando got a little bit too aggressive
Canada, the
in
one I was
Canada?
at, yeah, he
Yeah,
crashed his car for
yeah.
no podium. That wasn't even they weren't even fighting for a podium.
Nope. He just crashed his car. So
I,
like the way I look at it is just like I'm gonna see how as we get closer to the end, and let's just say like if it still stays within striking distance, I'm gonna see how aggressive Lando's gonna get. Let's say if he's right behind Oscar, because I feel like we're gonna get more of these like McLaren 1-2, rest of the field 20,
mm-hmm,
30 seconds behind, which is pretty
mm-hmm.
much the case. Like Charles Leclerc was like he was just him and Max were having their own race, like
Yeah, I
that's what it was
mean,
like, and literally like we can talk about that later on, but like they didn't have to really worry about. I don't even know if George Russell. I don't think George Russell was even much of a threat to them.
not at all. George finished 34 seconds, almost 35 seconds behind them. Charles, yeah, you're right. Charles finished 20.185, Max 21.73. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it wasn't close
But
at
I
all.
think like if anything, like it feels like it's Oscars to lose, but with the amount of races left, I don't know, man. I think we could get to that last two or three races, and we're gonna be looking at like this can still go either way. Like now, do you think it's gonna come down to the last race, or will the championship be in hand before then?
Ooh. Let's see, we got Hungary, then
Hmm.
Zambor, then Monza, then the Americas tour,
Hmm.
which is Austin, Mexico, Brazil.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say,
Like I think Lando's gonna grab some wins in some of those races.
I think barring an Oscar DNF, I
Hmm.
feel like by the time we get to Brazil,
Hmm.
he's gonna have a sizable lead. I think there's at least one McLaren DNF coming,
Hmm.
and I don't think it's going to be Lando. So like, or Oscar. So like, for example, like let's say in Hungary, Oscar wins that race,
Hmm.
right? Then we got an entire month off, and we go to Zandvoort next, right? If Lando is like desperate, is that going to cause him to make a mistake and crash? Like you understand what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
all it takes, because their cars are there, it's literally driver skills right now. So all it takes is like one DNF or one like lower than five results, like still in the points, but like not even a podium, and that's a wrap. And my money's on, unfortunately, Lando for his aggressiveness. But Oscar gets aggressive too. I'm not because right Austria, yeah. All right. So again, congratulations, Oscar. Let's see, where it goes. Shouts out to Oscar's grandpa, by the way, who was at the race, and also Oscar's mom was at the race, which is kind of like it's funny because Oscar's mom obviously went to talk to Yuki, who she famously calls like her son as well, and Oscar's probably sitting there like she still likes me better, right? Anyway, so it was nice. They got a little conversation. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is obviously the person with the most overtakes, Lewis Hamilton, had 11 on him. Just
He just
chef's
kept
kiss.
going. I mean, after like that qualifying, I watched that, and when it said Lewis Hamilton has exceeded track limits, I was
Try.
like,
Yeah, see, you and I did the same thing because I remember you were. I was like, you ever do one of those like the forehead thing? And I was like, I know this, I know. And I was like, let me see the replay for the track limits, and
I got to
I was
see.
like,
Yeah,
but the only thing that I was thinking is like, why did McLaren or not McLaren, but why did Ferrari wait?
I hate
Why
when
did
they do
Ferrari
that.
wait until halfway through the session to send him out to do his first lap? I mean,
Yeah.
from a strategic standpoint, where they're like, let's get the track like
Hmm.
rubbered in and blah. I was like, man, this is late. This is a
It's
this is a 4 mile long lap.
like
Like,
that's the thing. If we're at a shorter track, sure, halfway done with the with that Q1, then you get a chance to do like another lap, whatever. But with Spa, you don't got that luxury. Like,
no, sir.
and like if anything, like I feel like Ferrari should have been like, hey, I know we want to get this, let's wait a little bit, get that rubber on there. But Ferrari probably has a good enough car that they could probably make it out of Q1 with like a fairly decent time, like not an amazing time, but a
Just
fairly
get out of
decent time.
Q1.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get out of Q1.
And I think this was his first Q1, right? The first time he's been out in Q1, because he's been into Q3 all season, right?
I thought so, but I could be wrong.
Hmm.
No, I feel like there was one. No, I don't think it was his first one, but it was the first Q1 exit for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
and so, like for me, so that was frustrating. I think the reason I'm bringing up, obviously, unapologetically, Lewis Hamilton fan, greatest of all time,
Hmm.
full stop. And so for me, I don't feel like I think a lot of people are giving him credit. What I am happy to not have heard is like, well, yeah, he was supposed to do that because those were backmarker cars in front of him. That was
Oh
an
man.
Alpine. It was uh freaking Williams. It was Aston Martin. But it's like the only reason. And again, nobody brought this up, and I'm not even. It's just that sometimes when other drivers do that, they're like amazing. That guy did it.
Absolutely.
Look at that. But come on, dog. 11. So what did you think about the overtakes? There's like a 3 minute long clip that you can watch online that F1 produced with all the overtakes.
Hmm.
Cinematic.
I think he was just everyone he like as he was getting through it, he was just like lining them up and just going like bap 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 bap. And then someone, my favorite thing is like Lewis started off from 18th, and then he remembered he's like, oh yeah, I won 7 championships. I do know how to race.
So I was thoroughly enjoying it. But then obviously, like, what do you think about like? Honestly, I know what you thought. Clutch, right? When he called his own shot for the tire change, the crossover, he was like,
Man,
"Yeah, let's
he
come in for
knew,
mediums."
and like that's the thing, and like it seems like it kind of sucks. Well, it doesn't suck because it makes sense. Lewis knows what he's doing. That he often it's him making his own calls that leads to more success in his races. Like you and I have seen that
Yeah,
when he makes his own
listen.
calls. It's like, all right, good.
Somebody made the joke that was like, So in Silverstone, apparently they couldn't find him on the GPS. So
Yep.
Ferrari had no
Hmm.
idea where he was at, and he finished in fourth. Somebody was like, "Hey, dog, just lose the GPS this time too. Call your own shot." But it was interesting, right? Like once he
Hmm.
called his own shot, uh, everybody came in. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
not trying to take away from the skills of all the other drivers, but I'm almost positive that when
They
those
saw.
teams are like, "Hey, Lewis Hamilton's coming in," yeah, hey, bring me in, dog. Let's go ahead, line it up, get those mediums ready.
You
I'm
saw everyone just bap 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 bap.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. I do the same too. Come on, dog. It's like the smartest student in the class raises his hand and he says this. It's like, oh, yeah, actually, that's
Yeah, you know
facts.
what? Let me erase my my answer real quick. Maybe
uh,
put that
but
on there.
but it was a good race from Lewis. I think the only thing that
Hmm.
frustrated me was like you could see based on all the overtakes he had to do, if he had obvious such an obvious statement, if he had started from a higher position,
Hmm.
who knows where he would have been. But I mean, that also comes into like if they had started the race earlier, he probably would have been fighting. So if they had started like instead of like, well, we're gonna wait an hour and a half, if they had said like, yeah, it's good enough.
Hmm.
Let's run a couple laps. Like let's run it back. Let's see how you guys do on this, right? I think he obviously would have been up there fighting for a podium, but it is what it is. The final question, I guess, for me is like, do you feel like Spa? I know you talked about last year's race. Do you feel like Spa is a good track for these cars? Because there were really like aside from Lewis's overtakes and Oscars,
There wasn't
there were
really
not.
much. It's
Yeah, it
just
was
like
DRS train.
I think with these tracks, they gotta make them like I feel like when we get to the point where there's not enough space to do overtakes. I think
Yeah.
that's the problem with the modern car and how it is. Like unless they fix that issue, like these tracks are gonna be like for viewers are gonna hate it, fans are gonna hate it. Like
Mm-hmm.
outside of those overtakes, the honestly what was more exciting was literally watching like when they would pan the camera over to Max and Charles, because those two were like possibly the closest throughout, and you know Charles had to keep Max at bay the entire time.
Yep.
And
Their
like
last time weren't that much different either. Yeah.
no, like someone compared him at one point they were like close to like a thousandth of a second off,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like ridiculous. But besides that, it was bad. Like now, is it Monaco bad? No, but
Yeah.
I would still keep it because I think there's something about that long lap that for me is alluring. But if they can add like more overtakes, then imagine, or they can add that space, I think that would be more exciting for fans because your lap is so long, so it gives you opportunities for people to vie for positions. And imagine like
Mm-hmm.
if you have the space, imagine like a final lap where you have the cars like really close to each other, how the possibility of all the overtakes you could have, but you don't
Yeah.
have that space. So almost it's like once a car gets that good lead, it's
Yeah,
done.
I think what I'll want to see is how it is next year, right? Because
Hmm.
it's the cars are a little bit smaller, they're a little bit lighter, and
No, we
it's not
won't
ground
find out next.
effects.
We won't find out until 27
Oh
though,
yeah,
right?
you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're
That's the
right. You're right. You're
problem.
right. You're right. You're right.
We will know.
And so for me, it's one of those situations like low hanging fruit. It's either make your car smaller
Hmm.
or make your tracks so that you can overtake. Right?
Yeah,
Obviously, a place like Monaco,
they're not doing that.
they're never gonna do anything. Come on, dog. Those are billions of dollars. The crown jewel, the most
Oh
expensive
my
car per
gosh.
session, right?
And I mean, you brought up something. They're either going to make the car smaller or the track. And what did they do? Made the car smaller. That's their solution, pretty much.
So we'll see. But yeah, I guess going back to it, the last thing about that is that I want to say is like shouts out. Charles Leclerc got his, I think it was like his fifth podium. He's doing it right. Like
He's been
that
there.
McLaren or that Ferrari. Obviously, both of them have complained about the car. But Charles is still putting in those podiums.
Hmm.
I'm a little anxious for Lewis to get his first podium. He is nearing a record that I'm not super concerned about because like I always got to think about with Lewis. I always got to think about it in the context of like his career
Hmm.
and not like this tiny little snippet that he has right now, right? So right now, he's going on his it's going to be his 14th race, and he's almost tied for most races without a podium as a Ferrari driver, right? So
Mm.
for example, like Carlos Sainz got a podium with Ferrari after his fifth race with Ferrari, right? It
Hmm.
doesn't mean anything again, right? I got to view it from the lens of like in the span of Lewis's career,
Yeah.
no one is touching his records. But right now in the
Hmm.
immediate, I'm just kind of like Hungary is one of I don't want to jinx it. It's one of the tracks that he has tied for the most wins. I think he has the most poles in Hungary. Let's just
Hey
get last
man,
year he got that podium. I don't know if you remember. Max
yeah.
tried to brake check him into submission, and
And
he
then
got
that Max
sent to
got
the
flipped.
stratosphere.
And don't think I forgot that I'm pretty sure Hungary was Lewis's last pole for a race, right? Wasn't Hungary
Yeah, that's
23?
true. Yeah, 23. He got that.
Hmm.
Oh man, I got hype for life,
I was like, we
and then
back.
obviously,
And
and
then
then obviously
Mercedes
the
was
Red
just
Bull.
like,
I was like, oh, okay,
oh,
just kidding. I enjoyed Saturday, and people like. Here's the thing that like I think people have to understand. You can say whatever you want about Lewis fans. And I've heard like different arguments, or just like, is Lewis Hamilton like bigger than sport? The one thing that I will say is like, usually wherever he goes, except for maybe the Netherlands, right?
hmm,
If he succeeds, the crowd goes nuts because
absolutely.
that pole in Hungary,
Crowd was
eh,
going,
yeah, they lost their mind.
which is so crazy compared to like 20 years ago, or like, let's go maybe like 17 years ago, the stuff the crowd was doing to him. Hey, yo,
Hey, but we don't talk about that.
no.
And so I will say, so shouts out again, Charles Leclerc. Another shouts out, honestly, to Alex Albon. And my
Hmm.
apologies, Alex Albon. If you ever run across my podcast, I apologize to you profusely
He's been
for thinking
having,
that
man,
Carlos Sainz was going to baptize you
he's been
this year.
having a season,
Hell of a season. Alex
man.
Albon and Williams. See, the thing is, like, Williams is one of my favorite teams because
They've been doing their thing.
listen. It's because for me, my TPs,
Hmm.
James Val, just because he's so surgical with it,
Hmm.
love him. Fred Vasseur, because he could never. That man is never serious,
Hmm.
but he's a winner. Yes, and then I know Zach Brown is not a TP, but also like those three are like my top. Like, anyways, so yeah, shouts out to Alex Albon for continuing to have. He's having an amazing season. Apologies again, Alex. I thought Carlos was gonna dunk on you. I thought he was gonna baptize you.
Hmm.
It didn't happen. All right. So, any final thoughts before I go to my Pariguayo Matatan segment on the race
Mm.
overall? Oh, Kimi Antonelli. Here's,
Uh,
yeah, I know. So
it's been
Kimi
a rough
obviously has not
stretch.
had, since Canada has had a pretty bad stretch,
Hmm.
right? We're talking two DNFs. We're talking non-scoring or non-point scoring final results. He gave an interview on, was it Saturday, after Saturday's qualifying or Friday's qualifying, one or two, where he was basically, it looked like he'd been crying. All right. I just felt like I just want to put my hand around him and just be like,
Mm.
hey, dog, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you, what do you think about Kimmy's season now? Obviously, earlier in the year, they were doing really great. That car was doing amazing. George was on a couple podiums. George got that W in Canada. Do you feel like Kimmy's just under a lot of pressure? Do you feel like he's just going through a bad stretch? Do you feel like clearly they made a mistake bringing him up too soon, or what do you think is going on? I mean, yeah,
I don't feel like it's a mistake. I feel like you can clearly see the talent is there. I think people see it, but I think it's one of those. It's you're going through some growing pains, getting used to using this car on these type of tracks, and we've seen people who came into their rookie season who had bumps in the road. We've seen this. We've seen some drivers who are successful now who had those bumps in the road, and I'm not putting him off as far as like Mercedes should just move on completely from him
sure,
because you kind of want to see like what else you have, like as an 18-year-old. And I think that's the one thing I keep reminding myself. He is young, and you can't expect this guy to be Max. Because people like were almost expecting him to be like, oh well, Max came in at this age, blah blah blah, and Max was able to do all this stuff. I was like, well, Max is one of one. I think you talked about it. Every once in a while, F1 gets these like one of one drivers that come every once in a while, and you can't replicate that.
yeah, man. You have a right. You have an Elaine Prost. You have an Ayrton Senna. You
Hmm.
obviously have a Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen. You got to give him
Hmm.
the accolades, and I think obviously, like for me, I feel bad because I think that the pressure on him is mounting only because right he was I don't consider him Lewis Hamilton's replacement, right?
No.
Because that implies that he is going to have as much success as Lewis
Hmm.
Hamilton, right? I just viewed him as a driver that they signed, that they were going to sign, right?
Hmm.
Because Lewis, they were slow walking him out of the door. right? That's why sometimes people will be like, "Oh, Lewis should have never left Mercedes." No,
No,
they were slow walking him out the door.
they were ready. They were like when they didn't sign him, the way they offered that contract, they were like, "Hey, pretty much 25 is it, man. Like more or
Just
less."
slow walking him out
Yeah.
the door, right? And so, like, okay, fine. With that being said, I think Kimmy, yeah, they probably expected him to come, or Toto either pushed him into that seat too soon,
Mhm.
just to prove a point, or like the expectations were just too high, or that car started out good because they still had Lewis's input on the car. And now as the season's progressing and they need to make tweaks, they need to bring upgrades. They're not getting the same. And obviously, like that's my very biased point of view. Like, oh, the team sucks because they're not getting Lewis's. No, like it's
Mm-mm.
just a thought, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no one is going to have a rookie season like Lewis Hamilton is going to have, right? Because literally when he came in, that man got a podium. He almost got a race win, his first ever F1
Yeah.
race, right? If anybody was ready for the moment, it was him. Then you look at somebody like Max, same thing. They plucked Max out of the lower leagues, right, to bring him in, and almost immediately you can see, okay, this kid, he's reckless, but he's quick and he's fast, and obviously that's played out
Mhm.
extremely well for Red Bull, right? With Kimmy, it's just not, in spite of all of the training that Kimmy got, right? All the hours he got driving the car, it's just not there. I don't
Mhm.
I don't feel bad for him. I think what I feel bad about is that like him, along with like Isaac Hadjar, those moments where it's like the pressure is really getting to me and it's like, ah,
They
this is a
feel it.
lot. They feel it, but then they film it and it's there and
Mm.
everybody sees it and everybody makes an opinion, right? So you remember going back to Australia with Isaac Hadjar and what happened with Hadjar,
Oh
right?
man. Yeah.
And then you go back obviously to Kimmy, and so now you see what I'm saying. It's like I'm sure every rookie goes through this, but having a camera in your face and all of that, now everybody's like psychoanalyzing, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm not equipped to deal with that. So here's hoping, right,
Mhm.
that he does extremely well. We've got 3 races left in Europe before the season is done, so here's hoping that in Hungary or the Netherlands or even Italy, right, his second home race,
Mhm.
he does well. In the interim, George Russell's the only one, which by the way, that's the other thing. Like George Russell hasn't really done super well since Canada either,
Mhm.
right? But George is getting points. It's like the key difference. In spite of George, every week they're saying, "Hey, you're gone. We're gonna bring Verstappen."
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Anyways, all right. So to wrap it up for this race, obviously we always do our segment. I haven't had time to think about this, so I'm probably going to copy yours depending on who you say. So, who for the Belgian Grand Prix 2025? Who is your Bariguajo?
Man, I hate to do this to him because he's just been struggling so much. But then also I can't blame him. I was gonna say Yuki at first, but I mean it's like now when it comes out that like this guy did not have the same spare
Nah,
parts, I'm just
he
like
wasn't playing
ah.
with the same toys, dog. No, it's
But
not
I
his
just feel
fault.
like he
Yeah,
can't catch a break, man. Like I feel like everything keeps going like bad like over and over again. And like I said, he still hasn't scored any points as that second driver. And like
no, he's got
that's
one. He's got one. He's
he
got
got
one.
one?
One, like
One. Oh, I thought he
one
hadn't
point.
scored. Yeah.
No, no, no. He's got literally
But
one
then
point.
but then the other person I was gonna say, which is interesting because he got second, is Lando.
Ooh.
Because I felt like he had that pole and he had opportunities where he could have gained a lot more ground on Oscar and it seemed like I think it's like it's that meme from Jared Allen on the Cavaliers. I guess the lights were too bright when they asked him what happened in the playoffs. And I mean that's what it felt like because like you see we saw Lando put in lap after lap and I was like, all right, you're within striking distance and Spa has you have these these laps are extremely long for you to catch up and that's the one thing I'm just like because I know we like sometimes pile on Lando, but sometimes I'm just like I want to see you do it. All right, man, show me this, and then it's like ah. And once again, this is coming from a guy who's judging from the seat of his kitchen, who has never
Hey,
driven an F1 car. So I'm just gonna
hey.
say that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
No, I kind of stopped critiquing Lando too because I feel
Hmm.
like same as you in terms of like I couldn't drive a car that fast.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I think I drive fast till somebody who drives fast who
Hmm.
like really doesn't care about their life
Hmm.
is out there driving. All right. My pariguayo for this race, honestly, like it is. I don't even my
It's a hard
paraguayo
one.
for
It's a
this
harder
race.
one than I thought.
No, it's gonna be the Red Bull organization under Christian Horner.
Oh.
That's my paraguayo.
Mm.
Because come on, dog. Now we got to go back. I got to go all the way back to last year and the year before that and apologize to Checo Perez, alias El Viejo Sabroso, because apparently they weren't giving them the same parts.
They were had the same car, and you
And
were calling
Checo's
it. You were calling it. You're like Checo's saying this stuff for a reason.
been saying it, so now I got apologies. And so biggest body wider of the game right now is Red Bull. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen is great. He's
He
not
doesn't
gonna
need that
wreck your
help. He doesn't need
car.
help.
He doesn't need all those parts.
Yeah, I'll tell you this
You
though.
want maximize points?
I'll tell you this though. You know what gets me? Going back to 23, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Checo started off real strong in 23. If you go look at that season, he started off, and then it was like, "Hey, Checo, this was nice. This was nice, buddy."
Hey, amigo. I hope you liked it. Joss doesn't really like it, and so now we gotta stop this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, Red Bull as an organization right now for me, Guaggio for not firing Christian Horner when they should have last year, losing all the
Absolutely.
talent that they did, for not giving both their drivers. We can't even say that they gave them equal machinery. So this whole time we thought it was just the car set up towards Max. Literally, that's true, sure, but it was
Yeah.
probably also, and the other driver didn't have all the parts.
Mm-hmm.
So for this race, who was your matatan?
I'm gonna give it to so it's two people. I'm gonna give it to Oscar. Just
Shouts
bold
out, Oscar.
overtake. Just did what he needed to do. Probably couldn't see. Kept that lead. Won that race. Good on him. And I'm gonna give my second one to Lewis just for starting off from the pit lane and just doing his thing. Overtake after overtake. And those were for me like the two drivers who were like I think Lewis won driver of the day, which I know it's a fan poll, but
yeah, still.
I mean,
He had one overtake that against Lawson that I was like,
oh yeah,
I know he's about to crash right now.
that was actually I think that was a nominee for overtake of the month.
I was like, dang, and he had an unorthodox one on Pierre Gasly. Yeah, it was just watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have watched that 3-minute clip that F1 put out. My matatan of the Belgian Grand Prix is gonna surprise you. Nico Rosberg is my matatan.
Bro Sadie's bringing out the picture during the rain delay. My favorite thing coming out of it is like, Nico, you weren't looking for that picture. You had that picture on your phone, just ready to show it to someone.
But it's not even that. Did you see? So if you were watching, and I don't know, because you and I, like, obviously we have F1 TV, but I also have like the Sky F1. So that's where Nico is like a reporter. He came and he was ethering everybody. They got Jos Verstappen. He asked Jos Verstappen, hey, so did you have a hand in Christian Horner? I forget what the question was, right? And Josh was like, I got nothing to say. And Nico was like, oh, so you're quiet now? I was like, oh.
Like, Nico don't care. Nico don't care.
Making that chopper sing. I was like, damn, Nico
He was
Rosberg.
just like, he's out here like, homeboy, bodies.
He's like mink, 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 and then he found Valtteri Bottas on the grill. He's like, "Hey, congratulations on signing with Cadillac." He's like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you." I was like, "Dang." And then who was it? He interviewed Zach Brown. I forget what the situation was. He's like, "Didn't that decision almost cost him the race?" I was like,
"Oh my gosh!"
Hey, they got to keep bringing him on. They got to. But P. Powell Lewis avoided making eye contact. I can't wait to see if those two ever like make peace. I think Nico desperately wants to be Lewis's like friend again, but I think for Lewis, and I understand because I am the same way. We are no longer friends. We are no longer friends.
Like they're respectable, like acquaintances, like. Yeah. But I almost feel like a line was crossed that you can't just go back.
Yeah, it was when Nico purposely crashed his car so that Lewis couldn't put in a qualifying lap. It was when Nico was running in engine mode that they were told not to run to get an advantage over Lewis. So it's like, all right. But hey, I hope that one day those two reconcile and they put out a thing together and make a little part. I don't know. But anyways, matatan for me, Nico Rosberg. Keep bringing him on, asking all the questions.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. He ethered Jos Verstappen. All right. So that is it. Any final thoughts before I sign us out?
Nah, brother.
All right. Hey, look, if you have made it this far, obviously you like the content. Comment, like, subscribe. It costs you nothing.
Nothing at all.
Hey, as always, don't forget to tell your mamis, your papis, your tios, abuelas, your vecinos as neighbors if you don't speak Spanish. For the Monoplaza F1 podcast, that was Elkyn Beltre. I'm Emi Bertre. Peace.
We out.